A million times you've been asked, but for our audience,
Yeah.
why are you running for the county council?
So, as I said, we moved here in 2015, and our house is surrounded by woods. Our house backs up to 150 acres of dense forest that was full of wetlands. And of course, with that comes a lot of wildlife, which we thoroughly enjoyed. But in around 2020, a couple of things happened. The Sussex County Council, I think around 2018 actually, dropped an important part of the cluster subdivision ordinance, and that's called the yield plan, which makes sure that in a cluster subdivision, it's not going to yield any more houses than if it had been a standard subdivision. And when they dropped that, instead of being able to build 160 homes, hypothetically, on 100 acres, developers could now build 200. So, of course, the developers loved that because they could get more out of that parcel. And the cluster subdivision is the real theory behind a true cluster subdivision with a yield plan is that it's going to leave more open land to preserve the environment. Once they took the yield plan out, that took a lot of environmental protections away. And then also, in 2020, the federal government at the time relaxed its laws that protect wetlands. And then that was upheld by the Sackett decision. But virtually what those two things, combined with the fact that Sussex County does not have a forest preservation ordinance, meant that those 150 acres behind our home were left vulnerable. And so a developer came in and came up with a plan to clear cut at least 110 acres of that forest and build 304 homes. But in the end, the land use codes here in Sussex County were not in our favor, and they favored the developer to basically do what they wanted to do. And so that's when the one good thing that came out of all that is that's when I met Jane Grudenbaum. And she and I said, you know, we could fight every application and nothing would change. And what we really need to do is work to change the land use codes in Sussex County. And so that's when she and I co-founded the Sussex Preservation Coalition to bring all of these voices together of all of the individuals who voiced a lot of concern through that whole process, that we met a lot of people who were voicing concern about what's happening to our forest and our farmlands and our wetlands, and also other allied organizations to put pressure on county council to make amendments to the codes that they did have and create ordinances to protect what we could protect.